The recording has started, and great. And just to let you know, to kick us off, we we would love to hear your thoughts on a quick poll. The question is, can a machine be fair, or are we just teaching it our own mess? You'll find the poll in the chat now, and we'll return to your responses later in the session as we unpack the ethical foundations behind machine learning and AI. So now, let me please introduce our speakers briefly. Dilem Kaya is committed to shaping a more inclusive and responsible future with AI. As a master's student in digital health at the Hasso-Plattner Institute and working student in the AI ethics team at SAP, she brings together technical expertise and ethical reflection. With a background in coding and software engineering, she explores how emerging technologies can empower people rather than replace them. As a speaker and moderator, Dilem curates conversations that matter, from responsible innovation to the visibility of women in tech, and is an active member of Women in AI and the AI Grid community, where she helps drive change from within the field. We are also joined by Professor Dr. Maren, Vice President of Research and Professor of Digital Entrepreneurship and Innovation Management at XU Exponential University. Professor Maren brings deep expertise in emerging technologies, startup ecosystems, and algorithmic governance, and her experience spans leading institutions like TU Berlin, the University of Vienna, and the International Center for Migration Policy Development. Together, they'll explore what ethical responsibility looks like in real-world AI careers and how we can design a future that empowers people. We will also share a downloadable PDF about the webinar for you to take away and to give context on this discussion. Before we begin, I will ask you politely to please mute yourselves so that everyone can hear the discussion. Okay, so let's dive in. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kanu, and welcome to all our participants. And welcome to you, Dilem. I'm delighted to see you again. You're not only collaborating with SIP and HPI, but you're also former student of XU Exponential University, and it's really, really a pleasure to have this deep dive with you with regard to AI and ethics. And I'm sure this can only be the first one of many that are going to follow because the topic is huge. So let's us really dive in immediately. And what I would like to refer to first are actually three key voices in AI ethics that I believe are particularly powerful and inspiring. And these are Timnit Gebru. For those of you who do not know her, she's an Ethiopian-American computer scientist. She's the co-founder of DARE, the Distributed AI Research Institute. She is the former co-lead of Google's ethical AI teams and get fired in 2020 after a controversy around a paper critical of large language models. The other one is Joy Bulamwini, and she is an artist, it's computer scientist. She's a founder of the Algorithm Justice League, and she's also known for her MIT Research Media Lab, showing racial and gender biases and facial recognition systems. And the third one is the very well-known Kate Crawford. She's the senior principal researcher at Microsoft Research and the author of the widely acclaimed book, The Atlas of AI, Power Politics and the Planetary Costs of AI. And these three female voices, they are famous for their thoughts, for their exchange, and for certain quotes. And here they come. Timnit Gebru says there's no such thing as a neutral data set. Joy Bulamwini is quoted with machines are not neutral. We encode our biases into them. And then there's Kate Crawford, who states AI is neither artificial nor intelligent. Dilem, which of these quotes resonates the most with you?
First of all, thank you very much for having me, for inviting me to this beautiful stage, talking to the next talents. And also very nice, again, talking to you, Professor Borkert. And you actually chose pretty much very inspirational women in this field. And it's hard for me to choose because every one of them has contributed something very important. When I just think a little bit more, I would say that the courage the first woman you mentioned, Timnit Gebru, showed because she stood up against bias and even done research on large language models, then got fired. This is something I think more people should know. That's why I really, think she's a pioneer. It's Timnit Gebru. She also co-founded, as you just also said, an institute focusing on human-centered AI research, and I cannot really state that I hope gets more into the news because I believe many of you have not heard about those three names. Maybe you have heard about Ada Lovelace. She's very important figure because she has been called the first computer programmer. This name is somehow also when I was back then in school mentioned, but none of these three that you just stated, and that's why good that we all now on the same page.
Yeah, thanks, Dilem. I absolutely understand. I believe I understand the reasons why you choose Timnit Gebru, because there is no such things as a narrow data set. For me, it speaks and confronts directly the illusion of objectivity in AI systems, right? So, and this speaks to something that is actually coming from critical data theory as well. It was Lisa Gintelman who said there is no such thing as raw data, and her argument is that data is always collected, it's always processed, it's always interpreted, and this means that it's never neutral and it's never untouched. And this speaks very much to critical data studies and feminist voices and AI ethics that shows how much of the data that we are actually using in AI systems is constructed data. It's not simply discovered. So I absolutely understand why you have chosen her as the most inspirational. It shows a certain legacy in critical thinking when it also comes to understanding data and AI. So Dilem, let's go to something that is currently discussed in many media layers and politic circles, and also, of course, very much in the economy. Germany is part of Europe, and as of 2024, European enterprises, almost 40% of European enterprises have adopted AI technologies. Interestingly, not so much the small and medium enterprises, but also the medium-sized enterprises and the large enterprises, very much. European spending on AI is projected to reach 135 billion US dollars by 28. And in Germany, particularly, 27% of German companies reported using AI, while additionally 18% plan to implement it. With regard to your experiences and your work affiliations, what are, to your knowledge, the biggest ethical blind spots when we are talking about the current AI development, both in Europe, the world, and Germany particularly?
Yes, it's just impressive, right? The numbers you just mentioned. And I actually think about three different huge blind spots that needs to be even talked more about. And the first one, I would start with maybe a fact that you also heard in the audience, that using general purpose AI models, such as also ChatGPT, consumes 10 more times energy than just a simple Google search, for example. So this touches upon my first blind spot, and this is sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Training such powerful models and even building large agentic systems, autonomous systems, also maybe talking about 5-10 years, it requires very lot of computer power, energy, and also, of course, for cooling those very immense systems. For example, OpenAI's ChatGPT models have been estimated to cost millions of dollars per training run, and their carbon footprint is largely opaque, but not only from this company, but also from different other companies. And just last year, again, it was reported that data centers' water usage for some models reached millions of liters, raising urgent question on just environmental justice. We have now sustainability, which is something that really is not in the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
I have an assumption why not, because sustainability is in the second row, it's in behind, because speed, efficiency, and profit is on top agenda of everyone who's talking about AI. So this is something that I hope more people will talk about. Another blind spot I see is in governance and so-called AI ethics washing. Many companies, starting from like the top 5 that we all know, but also others, are just pretending to invest in responsible AI, having that name on the website, just, for example, showing that they're investing into AI, but at the same time they are just pretending to do it. Maybe also something that you can afterwards check out. Meta, for example, sent an email notification that you can opt out. So you can just state that you don't want that Meta AI uses your data. So you as a person have to actually click on it or even see the email, because I guess lots of emails are coming to your mailbox. And yeah, this is something we as people need to be active on, because nobody thinks about just to protecting us. They are actually wanting our free data that we give to them. And then lastly, I would state its speed. I mean, I love AI and I love the field because it's just so fast. It's changing quickly. And I, for example, I'm in that field, but I cannot read that many news that are coming into my mailbox. It's just impressive. At the same time, we need another narrative. Of course, we need another mindset that AI is going to change everything and that we want to embrace it. But we also need to be aware of the fact that it changes our human nature and how we actually interacting with each other. Is it more everything's going to be digital because it's more convenient, right? It's more easier, faster, or do we go out and meet in person? So this is a very fundamental thing that I believe it's going to be interesting questions that we all can actually work upon. We can choose not to use the convenient way, but actually foster personal encounters. And also maybe another news I read, because it's just so fast in development, that China, for example, will open sooner. Maybe right now it's just in research, AI first reach hospital. So it's just in the research phase, but they want to build not only hospitals, but also factories where only AI, so only robots are in there. Also other countries, I mean, they're just stating this, but having this vision, or also looking through, for example, different science fiction movies, or for example, one thing I can definitely recommend, it's Black Mirror. They have a new episode, a new series out right now, and it's actually pretty accurate what they're saying. So watching those things and having those news in mind, we can actually be aware of it and just be active instead of passive.
Thanks, Dilem. Thanks a lot. You just mentioned China as a nation. When we think about AI and AI development, well, I think it's no surprise and also no secret that the field is largely controlled by a very small group of tech corporations, right? And which leads then to a situation where ethical decisions are actually shaped by the interest of the companies, right? Mostly profit motives, so to say, and far less democratic values. Do you think this is going to be impactful for the communities and societies we are going to live in? And how is it going to impact also on the younger generations that are going to move into the labor market? What do you think? How do you see this?
Very interesting observation and fact, actually. So we as a younger generation have an opportunity in this field to actually shape it, to not just go where the money is, I would always say, but also go where the money is, but make it be an active voice in that field and be aware what happens around you. So always having your ears open and understand and stay critical. Everyone says lifelong learning and stay critical, but it's actually not that easy as it sounds. This is something I observed a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so let me see. I was just curious, what our audience is thinking and how you are seeing this thing. So we had this poll with the question, can a machine be fair, or are we just teaching it our own stuff, our own math?
Mhm.
And there's three apparently who says, yeah, it can be fair. It can be fair. Some are putting confusion, some yes. So there's a couple of people who says yes, but it depends. But then the question is, on what does it depend? When we think about young professionals and how they can push for a kind of ethical turn or an ethical dimension to be incorporated into tech and AI development, how can we make sure that the AIs that we are developing are going to be fair?
This is the question that I wish there was an easy answer to, but it's very good that people in the audience already stated that it could be in a way fair if there are certain aspects thought about. And I mean, the topic is just huge. It spans different nations, and every nation has a different idea on what is fair.
Mhm.
But of course, we in Europe, we have I would say we have the opportunity that we in Europe, there are so many countries can align on these aspects and actually create this responsible, transparent, fair data sets. And there are different aspects, as I said. So for example, we make sure that you work in a very diverse team. So not only developers, but so every tech company actually needs to have different kinds of expertise in there. For example, I'm studying in digital health, doing a master's, and I'm working at SAP because it's all very correlated. And in medicine, for example, it's also a very high-risk sector. I can take this view and go into the software and say, okay, the software could maybe also, when implemented someday in this field, be, not really fair. So then, of course, the data sets, we definitely need a lot of audit phases. We need humans, actually, besides someday, I always also state this, that we are going to be in the agentic phase and the year of agents. So we have agents checking if the data set is fair based on different aspects, but at the end, the human should always be alerted and look over what the agent, for example, flagged. That our actually task changes from just merely programming to observe. So just to being it's just a famous quote, but I think it's kind of a little bit accurate. Zhang Songhang said this, that the IT department will be the next HR department of AI agents. So we are just having a different role in this new field.
Okay, thanks. What I was wondering, I mean, particularly when it comes to young professionals and ethical change, I mean, I can see from the students, teaching them over I don't know how many years. Let's not count them. That there is a certain sensitivity towards justice and justice matters, which is perhaps even stronger than in previous generations of students that I was able to teach. I think this might actually help to raise awareness for aspects. You raised the question of intersectionality, right? To have diverse teams and reflect and respect the differences and the contributions that each of them can bring. One thing that you also highlighted is the building of the AI systems. And here I think it becomes interesting because most of the large language models that we are using nowadays, they have been trained on a certain data set. And the data set itself, it's largely comes from US American sources. It's very prone towards English. There was a beautiful study done by the Oxford Internet Institute with regard to digital geographies. And what they were looking at is Wikipedia. And they highlighted, they had the world's map, and they tagged where the authors are coming from that are publishing articles in Wikipedia. So what are the sources of the knowledge that we are generating and curating there? And you can see that this is strongly based towards Anglo, American and British, Australian authors, mostly male between their 20s and 35 years, who are publishing there as authors, right? So there's a lot of knowledge of the world that is not incorporated. And if these language models are trained of an already biased data set, then of course, what they can do, because this is how the systems are made, they can only result and respond to what has been framed as the mainstream, right? Okay. So instead of going for the average, why not, if we want to cooperate and if we want to build up true fairness in our AI systems, why not design the system with the most vulnerables in mind? What's speaking against this? Why are we not doing this?
Yes, wow. This is something we actually have to go with this question and go to the top big 5 companies. But actually it starts also in the legislation and in forcing this from the regulatory side, I would say, because actually tech is a mirror of our society, I always also state. And we have the chance, as you just beautifully described, to directly improve this and say, no, we can change tech for the better. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And well, when it comes to regulation, thanks for the hint. Well, we have a luxury situation. This is how I see it at the moment. If we see worldwide, in Germany, we are part of the European Union, which is a project I absolutely see as a good idea and truly valuable political network and union of countries that has also gained international awareness by being one of the first political initiatives to actually come up with an AI Act that is binding for actors, political actors, but also economic actors and individuals in their nation state borders. And I'm talking about the European AI Act. How can you see, or how do you see, is this AI Act actually shaping ethical standards when it comes to AI in Europe and perhaps even worldwide?
Yes, it's very, very important step that the European Union has taken. It's the first comprehensive AI legislation. I mean, there are different parts of legislation already been done in different countries, but this is something that's very, very comprehensive and takes actually use cases from a risk level, so from low risk, high risk to under high risk, and even forbidden cases, and also gives transparency to those. Just we also mentioned ChatGPT, for example, those foundation models, and it's a very good aspect that we have it. And as we all know, legislation takes long to be actually enforced and adopted, but this one was not that much of a time lag, I would say, because as of March 2024, it was formally passed and then also adopted by the Council. It is now binding, and it is actually binding in different phases. For example, first of all, it's AI literacy. Then next thing is going to be a different aspect. So I think it's a good way to have those different stages. It is definitely something that we as Europe can be a pioneer on if we, and this is something I hope Europe politicians and also others stating that the European AI Act is something that we can be very proud of. Not actually always state regulation is a must, but state if we want to innovate it, we need, and we actually need good regulation to innovate it even better. So I always see it as a, I would say, as an opportunity to not see it from a risk perspective, to not see it from a negative aspect because another legislation, but to see it, oh, finally we have something like that we can all work on because it makes our systems more trustworthy and fair, and also easy to be implemented. I've been also in different panels, and the tenor there was it's for startups, for smaller companies, not that easy to enforce because it's not on an empowerment level written, but more on a don't do this, otherwise you will have tons of billions of fines. So then startups are thinking, okay, maybe I should not develop this AI solution, not here, but brain drain to a different country somewhere, and mainly in, of course, in Western Europe, but also somewhere else. And this is something we really need to be aware of. Otherwise, all the talents that want to create very smart agentic, for example, systems, but also AI systems, move away, and all the innovation that we already have in universities, and we are very, very lucky to have top universities, top talents. They just go somewhere else. So I'm an advocate that innovation needs constraints, and innovation needs this guideline. So there are some different, as I said, some steps that need to be reframed, but also some things that need to be actually in this UI Act better written. But still, I think it's a very, very, very important step that we have done in Europe, and we can be very, very proud of it.
Yeah, thanks. You were just referring to the AI startups, and of course, you know, as a professor of digital entrepreneurship, I'm one of the proudest thing I'm always happy to tell is that particularly Berlin leads with in the area of AI startups. So, you know, from a Berlin perspective, we are always looking towards Munich and the Technical University of Munich and how they managed to generate and create an ecosystem also, university spin-offs and high-tech startups. But this is not true when it comes to AI startups. Here, Berlin is leading with 86 AI startups, followed only by Munich with 57. So this is really an opportunity for Berlin and Brandenburg area to dive deep into this new tech and come up with new ideas, and perhaps even not contrasting or not conflicting, ethical issues, but instead embracing them as one of the USP, as one of these things where you can say, okay, yes, it's AI. There's a lot of opportunities in it. The funding schemes and the investments in AI, the venture capital that goes into AI development, particularly among startups, that's huge. It's huge in Europe, it's huge in Germany, it's huge in Berlin. So that's definitely one orientation, one pathway to explore. But of course, also keeping in mind the ethical issues and very much sustainability issues, as you said. Let's dive a little bit more on the AI Act, because this is going to be forever, whatever young professionals are going to work on, their ideas, perhaps even their startups. This is going to be the framework in which you are going to operate in, right? And you said it's a novice. It's a novelty, when it comes to legislations and regulations, and it's an initiative. And what I think it's most important also to understand is that is a lighthouse initiative that is shining a light on where we as a political union say we must look into. This is something we cannot just let it grow, but we need to have an eye on this, because what we want is we want this tech to serve humans, at the end, to serve and be beneficial for the society that we want to live in at the end, this kind of the science fiction, on surveillance capitalism and students in schools being monitored with regard to their performance and their emotions all the time. Is this really a kind of society we would like to live in? Is this a kind of reality that we would like to embrace? Or is it not necessary for us as humans, with the human nature that we're having, as you pointed rightly out, to say there must be boundaries and there must be transparency with regard is how our societies, our communities, our institutions are going to interact with AI in the future. And as you know, I'm currently leading the Fair Work project, which is on labor conditions of digital platforms. And I'm focusing on the study of algorithm management. And what I find most fascinating is that we always have, well, at least 3 or 4 dimensions incorporated into the topic. On the one hand, we have the regulations, the European ones on AI. But then, of course, also labor law. And labor law in Germany is strong. It has a very strong tradition. We fought for good labor conditions already in the 19th centuries. And this is what makes German labor market different from many labor markets in the world, where capitalism is really free floating. We have strong rights associated to employees, and I think which are worth also to defend. So we have this regulatory issue. Then we have the companies, and of course we would like digital platforms and AI startups to flourish, But then there's also the people who are integrated into the systems, and how do they feel, and what can they do in order to impact on the systems, right? We were talking to workers, of digital platforms, groceries, and when you're coming home late and you want still something to eat, and you open your fridge and there's nothing in there, and then you just open your app and you look who's going to bring you something to eat. May it be groceries from the supermarket or a meal cooked already, And these people, the riders, they are coming, and they are subject of these algorithm management approaches that are very much also led by AI, because it's algorithms that are optimizing things, you know, and are controlling things and are verifying things. Are you a real person? Are you capable of paying what you have ordered? You know, all of this information goes in. But of course, also for the riders, there's a lot of information that is captured from them, because otherwise the system is not working, right? How much they have worked, how many hours, how many orders, how fast are they traveling, what is their means of transportation, you know. This is an important thing for the experience of the delivery service. But from the rider side, what is missing is the algorithm actually calculating in what kind of weather conditions they are, what kind of hours of the day, you know, what's the traffic like in Berlin? How can I make sure that I can have a fast delivery and you got your burger warm and not cold while not risking my life on the streets of Berlin, right? So the question always is, how can we bring this other expertise and the other experiences into the development part, right? So it's a kind of, I'm a very strong advocate towards co-creation. You know, if we have to have this kind of systems, then let the people who are living in them, who are working them, who are giving their performance, be a part of the development process. And I think this is a new kind of discourse and debate that we are having in Germany, but I think it's a necessary one. And this European AI Act is actually helping us to start these debates in many other countries around the world. And this is also something that the Further project is showing. These discourses are not happening. They are not happening because there is not such thing like transparency. There is no such thing like a regulation that is shedding a light on the effect and the impact that these systems are having. So I think it's, you know, for the good of the words, I know you can criticize the EU AI Act from a lot of angles, but you can also embrace that it's opening up a sphere in our society where we can sit together, different actors from different stakeholders, from different facets of society, where we can negotiate about what is it that we really want to create. Because believe it or not, the AI systems that are built today are going to impact the labor force of tomorrow. And this means all of you. So, you know, this is something that I think it's important for us to keep in mind. Okay, let's move on to the next chapter. I think we are already sensitive in time, right? Gen Z and careers in AI ethics. You are the expert because this is how you started. This is your generation from the university. You got to be a work student with SAP. You got to do your master's with HBI. You are having a lot of understanding, you know, you're stimulating discourses and debates in your LinkedIn community. What is it that you think makes AI and ethics in AI an exciting and perhaps even an urgent career path for your generation, for the so-called Gen Z generation?
I can only really agree with what you said. It's something that gains more and more attention. We are right now in a very, I would say, kind of a niche. I'm also in LinkedIn community active in different communities where I see that there's growing interest. And I, for example, when I saw this job online, I didn't look for AI ethics job. I just wanted to I looked for something that stated AI and has something kind of intersectional and yeah, it's something that really touches upon different aspects, and this is something that we can actually have also something that shapes our future. I also thought about kind of innovation, but I somehow just realized that there are now different initiatives. I applied 1.5 years ago, but now I'm also seeing creating responsible AI solutions. So if you look into the job description, there are different aspects that they are really emphasizing the need on and responsible AI, especially in Europe. I mean, we see now the kind of a different direction in the US, but we will also experience some other different occasions and issues where we think, oh no, we now need trust, we need to build trustworthy AI. We have seen so many different issues, from Amazon facial recognition algorithm on recruiting, but also different aspects, Google, so hallucinations. And the good thing is that the Gen Z, we always challenge the status quo, and people, recruiters, but also, of course, people working in those companies, C-levels, realizing this, that they need to give us the stage to actually change something. And it's your task then to also communicate in those job interviews that you actually want to change for the better, because everyone wants to have someone who's active and who's seeing the good side also in tech, and wants to support the company to make it more ethical, even though they are not really stating this, because of profit-wise or of reputation-wise, but believe me or not, they are actually wanting those attitudes to have. Yeah, so it's actually a very good time to be in there, because in the future it's going to be very, very much on responsible AI. Nobody really, I think, will talk about the emphasis on responsible AI, because it's going to be just AI. Yeah, so we have wonderful times ahead, I would say.
Thanks, Dilem. One thing that I always ask myself, and perhaps you can shed a fresh light on this, is I said, I made the experience that our students are actually very sensitive towards injustices. And what I really wonder is if perhaps, the lived experience already with digital injustices, like, I don't know, Irish biases on TikTok that you all know and all aware of. Does it give Gen Z a kind of embodied insights into the topic already? Because this is how you know many of your interactions are already streamlined and monitored in surveillance. Is this something that you can take out of your daily interactions and daily experiences and bring to the labor market as an embodied insight into what needs to be fueled into the development of AI systems? How do you see this?
Wow, that's also something that we in Gen Z, we can definitely state what we are thinking is going not in the right direction, and we can take what we are realizing is happening in our society unconsciously, and take it. Of course, it's always, you have to be brave and you have to be courageous to state it, and you always have to be aware whom you're talking to, but you can also take measures to not be the spotlight. There are different things you can actually do already on the personal devices, because the new currency is also, I mean, it's data, but also time you're using digital devices, because it's just for free, and they are using your free data. You can always advocate for secure data usage, because I believe we are not able to just reverse the process and state we should not use this data, but we should actually proposing something that makes our data usage more secure, or even that we as people are the owner of our own data. This is also an interesting field that can have a major impact. that we have the rights to say who is going to use my data, but maybe just we need different technology for this.
Okay, and as you said, what it needs in order to act are insights. Insights are information. Insights are also training and qualifications. Does everyone has to be a coder or a data scientist in order to work in AI ethics?
Here I want to start again with a very controversial quote again from Jensen Huang, NVIDIA CEO this year. He said, "We don't need any coders anymore." So it's interesting to hear this. And I have a bachelor's degree in coding and software engineering. What I definitely would emphasize to everyone is have this analytical, critical mindset. So I learned in my computer science bachelor's at XU Exponential University, when I had theoretical classes, we needed some to learn something. We always applied those, be it in hackathons, but also be it in different, I also co-founded a startup in the university. So everything is possible. And I always see it from a practical side. So there I learned a lot of, can I use this technology in our economy? So it's more about applying and being critical and thinking which models should we use. So the computer science class taught me this as well. And on top of this, technology, as such, AI is interdisciplinary by nature. As I also emphasized before, we need to have different angles, perspectives from law, from design as well, from philosophy, from social justice, to just come together and teach the developers or teach the AI, as I also said, the new HR department, what we are wanting from societal level. So my answer is no, you definitely don't have to be a coder. You just have to have, first of all, the mindset to change something, you wanting to change something. Second, also the mindset to be courageous, wanting to do something. And third, of course, this critical thinking aspect, to not take everything just for granted.
Yeah, and I think, yes, this also fuels back to how we started, right? With the three female voices, where you could say, well, they are all questioning. They have a tech background. They have, they are computer scientists or tech artists, but they're also questioning how we define intelligence. They're questioning how we define neutrality or how we define progress at all. And I think this is very important to acknowledge that it's not only the tech affinity or the technical training that you receive, but also this kind of traditional, critical thinking that has evolved in science, and particularly the philosophy of science, and very much also in, well, the area and the region we are living in. So from a practical point of view, Dilem, because I think this is also something that a lot of our participants are interested in. How can you find your way into well, this huge and inspiring and so fast developing area of AI development, AI ethics? Do you have any tips for our audiences for how to become a member of API or SAP, or what's next? Shall they join one of these 86 AI startups in Berlin in order to become famous and make a career? What are your insights and your tips? What is it that you can hand on to the next generation of successful AI developers?
Yeah, so one thing I can definitely say is the world is just wanting to have you as a talent. There's so many different. There's no one size fit all solution, and there's nothing I can say, okay, you should go because you have a computer science background, you should go directly to SAP because they're looking for coders. No, there are so many different options, and you can actually choose which one. And I would always recommend to just, if you want to go to a bigger company, or if you want to go, for example, gain experience, to just do an internship. You can do internships in startups to see if that's actually suits you. But you can also do go join an NGO. You can work, for example, at the HPI. We have also now a big research department on responsible AI with a new professor on responsible AI, and you can just do research there and even also get funded. And I believe, first of all, you need to gain very much experience in that field, but also kind of advocate for yourself, an advocate for what you're doing. I, for example, do it mainly on LinkedIn, where I have a personal brand where I state what I'm focusing on, but also what I'm passionate about. And people will see that what you are passionate about, and they will then go to you. So find something, go look what's there. You can also just afterwards, or whenever you feel like, approach, I guess, all of us here. And I can also maybe forward you something, but it's in the end to figure out. You have to figure it out on yourself. Also, go get a mentor, for example, and ask them. I also have mentors, and they will actually coach you. They will not say go this, go there, but they will coach you based on your passion and based on what you can also do and also see yourself in the future. And also, there's also something that I realized. It's nothing you like a career ladder, for example. You have to tick this box and this box and this box. That's nothing. That the world has changed. It's you go this way, you get experience, and you will also fail and say, okay, this is something I don't like, and then you go to the next area, but you get stronger out of it. This is the thing that we also really need to be aware of, that if you find something and in the end say after 3 months, oh, I didn't like it and I'm bad at it, so what? Everyone has something that they're not really good at, and you take this as a fool to take something else and go where your strengths maybe are, and you find new strengths. It's always a lifelong process. I took this mindset from basketball, from competitive basketball, but maybe you have something else that you're very good at, and then just apply this mindset that you have to your future career, and you will find something what you're very passionate about. So I think, yeah, the floor is open for you, and everybody wants to have some talents like you are.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I can only agree and point out that, you know, from my perspective as a professor, I think universities offer quite a good launching platform, you know, for on the one hand educating your skills, but on the other hand also creating networks and platforms for you to launch your careers. And you know, as a professor of digital entrepreneurship, just keep in mind, Germany holds 6% of the global AI patents compared to China with 29 and the US with 27. There is still a process of catching up that we have to do. Okay, so if you are thinking about creating a new startup or company coming up with a patent, you know, there is so much support and available to you, you know, that is offering really unique opportunities for you. Just think about the 86 AI based in Berlin, okay? And the lot of, you know, 20% of venture capital just goes at the moment into AI development of startups. So there's a huge opportunity here for all of you to thrive in. Okay, I think, time is floating. Questions from the audience. I'm not sure, Kanu, are you jumping in right now, or how are we going to process?
Yes, the floor is open for any questions from the audience. If they feel they have a question that both speakers can answer, I can get started if you don't mind. I've got a question.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I mean, for me, ChatGPT has been a bit of a game changer since the memory function And I think this people, you can see it all over LinkedIn, generally, and just anecdotally, that people are using ChatGPT and other platforms, other AI platforms, for everything, not just work, emotional support, mental health, just some advice, health, and all of these sorts of personal sort of topics. I just want you to sort of go back to some points that you mentioned. How do we get the big tech platforms out of harvesting our free data, for example? Because that is, I love the idea of having an AI assistant or an AI partner, friend, those sorts of things. But I wouldn't want Sam Altman or Mark Zuckerberg sitting next to me and knowing everything about it. So how do we design a system that actually moves away from that?
That's a very, very good, thoughtful question. And you just said it. We are just giving our data, then we can use it for free. I actually also realized that as soon as we see an app that we need to pay for, we kind of hesitate to not do it, because I mean, startups need to kind of be financially compensated for what they're doing. And as you maybe also heard, those big large companies, as you just mentioned, they are not making profit because they're just using so much of financial resources, and it's very, very expensive to actually fool those systems, that they have the best individual answer to our questions, and we as people just get convenient to use those systems because we don't have that much time. Our peers are using it. If we want to change something, then this is, I think, two-folded, or maybe, I guess, three-folded. It's, of course, first of all, starts again with regulation, and their European AI Act could have been even more on the, for example, artists and creative individual aspect could have been more benefited them, but actually it did not exactly did that. So this is something that on the first hand can be on the regulatory side, political side, more enforced. What I also see is that, again, we need more funding for startups that want to change the status quo. And I mean, this is money. And we can improve on this as well in the in Europe. And lastly, it's actually also upon us. If we see time as the new currency, or if we see fairness as the new currency, and we can kind of choose not to use certain aspects because we want to fight for the more transparent solution. This is what I think is, of course, not an easy answer, not nothing you can do tomorrow, but you can think about those three aspects.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. I like to see fairness as the new currency. I wish this would have been a currency already in the past. But perhaps now with AI we can at least push, and combine and synergize our energies towards realizing a greater deal and volume of fairness or quality of fairness than it has been in the past. I mean, the EU AI Act is already pushing in this direction, right? They have transparency requirements for disclosure of training data, capabilities and limitations, copyright compliances, with artists. But I also agree that this has to be enforced. It's not only nice to have it on a paper as a kind of moral compass, but this also needs to be enforced in reality. And so the huge tech companies that are dominating this area really needs to be really needs to be held accountable for what they are doing. Instead of so many users paying to use ChatGPT, they actually would need to pay the users, because this is what they are benefiting on, right? They're benefiting from your data. This is your contribution that they are building up their empires on. So they should be paying you and not the other way around. So I think this is important to keep in mind and keep pushing in these directions, and keep also the room of discussion open. We can always make a change. These are not nature-given systems. We build them, and this also means we can rebuild them and find different ways. The European Union has, in terms of not only legislation but research, they have funded a project to build up an LMM, which is based on 24 languages, European languages, which already makes a huge difference when it comes to the kind of data and knowledge and wisdom and cultural tradition that is integrated there, because it shows the variety of us human beings, right? And it's not only US American mainstream kind of data. It shows that there is a variety of people in this planet who needs also to be heard and integrated. Okay, so what do we have any other questions from the audience? Even practical one when it comes to finding your ways. Yes, Tamta, please.
First of all, I want to say huge thanks, because to me this was such an eye-opening discussion. From my perspective as a software engineer, I think I've been looking at this from my own side, and it seems much different from my perspective. So today I've received lots of new information from you, and I'm really thankful. Other than that, I wanted to ask, well, I have many questions, but the first thing that comes to my mind, again, as a software developer, is that I use AI in my daily life, not just in my career, but in my personal life, and as a personal assistant, as a friend even. I just can't help but wonder, and Dilem also mentioned the person who said that in the future in AI, we don't need coders, but we need critical thinking people, right? And problem solvers, etc. So I've been thinking, and this question has been raised a lot, but I wanted to know your perspective on what is the future of computer science and software engineering with AI?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your feedback. Maybe I go first, and thank you for just being that open. I think you don't have to worry at all about what you're doing. You're doing fantastic if you're right now in tech, because you enable yourself to understand the technology first of all, and you enable yourself to, if you're using different tech projects or systems, you know how to help yourself. There are so many around my surrounding that don't even know the basics. So I think it's a very good time to be in tech right now, to understand everything. And you just mentioned we also train in that computer science. XU does it perfectly on also applying our knowledge, but also being critical about it. And we cannot definitely predict what our future will look like, but we can work now towards some aspects that train ourselves to be prepared for the future. And it is going to be, first of all, understanding tech, and you're doing this, being critical, and also having this adaptability, this flexibility to changing slightly your role. some, not tomorrow, not in 5, not in 2 years. I can't state a number because predictions are right now a little bit difficult to take. Even famous computer scientists always are kind of wrong. It's just being aware that maybe someday your role will change, but then you will find something better. But still, I think you are on a very good path.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me zoom in perhaps. I mean, as a software engineer and developer, you are already compiling very different tasks. On the one hand, you are creating, and I know that Dilem has run through a lot of design thinking approaches and techniques and methods in order to stimulate this creativity. And on the other hand, you have the very manual work of actually coding, right? And then there's, of course, there's quality management and error analysis, and then you come in as a researcher and an evaluator, and you are already, as a developer, you have already many different profiles, in one profession. Let's put it this way. And Dilem highlighted it beautifully when he said, well, what we learn to do is applications and critical thinking. And I think this is what makes a huge difference, because when we think about, I mean, we have a lot of rumors now, the AI agents are going to be developing faster, more accurately, with regard to what humans can do. So we don't need the data scientists, we don't need the mathematicians, and we don't need the coders. But who is coming up with the ideas? Sorry to say, but what the machine is doing is only what we are teaching the machine to do. It's replicating. I can tell the machine, please go and do this, and then this is what it's doing. But it's me who is having the idea. And I think this is something that Dilem also highlighted. One of the big topics that we have all over the world is sustainability. We need ideas for a sustainable future in Europe much more than in other parts of the world, because we don't have vast resources just to nurture from and to destroy. Okay, we don't have those. We need to be very clever and very smart with regard to our energy consumption, our waste management. Everything is related to sustainability. So if you are combining the problems that we have, the necessities that we see, your creative capacities with your technical skills, I'm absolutely not worried for you, but very happy for the European Union, as us, for Europe as a region, with regard to what are you going to contribute in future. And I think there was another question. So Tamta, please, we need your creativity.
Thank you again so much.
Are there any other questions?
I saw something, but I'm not sure what I saw, so I'm not sure.
No, there was a hand that did go up, but I think they put it back down.
It was a wave of agreement, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay. If there's no other questions, I think we can close it here. If if everyone's in agreement and there's no other last minute questions coming in. Okay. Well, thank you very much all for joining. It's a very, very important discussion, and I think it was very, very insightful. I learned a lot as well. A big thank you to Professor Maren and to Dilem as well for sharing your insights and having such an important conversation. And inspiring a new generation, of course, I think. A full recording of the session will be available soon. So if you want to revisit any part of this discussion, you can share it with your network. It will be available soon. So just keep an eye out. In the meantime, if you're not a student of XU Exponential University, please feel free to explore more about our university, our programs, and future events. You can head over to xu-university.com. And yeah, thank you once again. We look forward to speaking with you about new topics in the future.
Thanks, Kanu, and thanks so much, Dilem. It was a pleasure to be talking and exchanging with you again. And I wish you from the bottom of my heart every success with regard to your work steps and to your next work steps and professional development. And of course, we are going to keep in touch. Thanks so much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Yeah, for having me, and of course for being here, all the audience. I think we have a great future ahead, because you're already very interested in this topic. I'm also very excited to follow you soon.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Goodbye. Have a good day.